Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. We're presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Jay Zawaski here, Mario Tirabassi to my left. Greg Boysen is at the United Center and will join us shortly. Hawks win, Hawks win, Hawks win, snapping the 8-game losing streak with a 5-4 shootout win over the Sharks on Pat Foley night. And it was a little bit stressful. It was a little bit painful, but at the end of the day, we get as much Pat Foley as we possibly could in the course of the game, and that's a good thing. And just like the Blackhawks cheersed Pat Foley, we're going to do the same thing right here. Here's the 39 great years, Pat. Thank you for being the GOAT at calling hockey games. I will fight anyone who disagrees. Pat Foley is the greatest of all time. So
absolutely, it was awesome to to hear all the memories, pregame, during the game, all the honors that all the former players and people from Foley's past and his family and everything. It was just awesome to see all the sentiment coming for him. It was just a great night for Pat. A game that, thank God they won, because
oh my God,
the end of that game would have been so awful and such a bummer had they lost in overtime or in the shootout. They tried to blow it, but they were able to hang on and get the shootout win. And it was great to see Foley sent off with a victory, a much needed victory for this team in many ways.
Right.
It was a good outcome tonight.
We'd like to point out too, the Blackhawks are undefeated since Derek King joined us in studio.
1-0, baby.
Just saying. So every game.
Yeah, if he wants to, be a regular on the show, we'll love to have him for sure.
Well, we're gonna spend a lot of time tonight talking about Pat Foley, as we should. But there was a hockey game, so let's start there. And this is one of the better games they've played in a while. And look, San Jose, they're not world beaters by any means, but the Hawks came out, started very well. First couple shifts from that first line, the Strome line they were terrific. Mm-hmm. They score very early in the game.
I think that was the first shift that line had.
Yep.
So it was a perfect start for them.
1:18 into the game, the Blackhawks take the lead. But a troubling trend that we've seen all year is as soon as the Hawks score, minutes later, the opposition scores. And it has been something that has happened all season long. And I wonder what the reasoning is for that. If there's a little bit of a letdown. At some point, the Hawks have to learn that as soon as they take their foot off the gas at all, the puck's in the back of their net. And look, it's a win. We should be happy about it. But Kevin Lankinen, did he control a rebound all night?
I mean, it's the constant story with him.
Yeah.
And what we've seen in so many of his starts this season in particular. Just the rebound control, the confidence that he built up last year has been erased in his performances this season, and it sucks because he has shown that he can get it done at times, and he's a likable guy, and he would be easily affordable for the Blackhawks, but man, I don't know how you could bring him back into next season, and I know that they're not trying to necessarily win and try and go on a run and get into the postseason or anything, but you got to have some confidence in your goaltender.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so
just a little bit of confidence would go a long way. But let's focus on the positives in this game, and there were a lot. Patrick Kane with an absolutely NBA style ankle breaker in the first period, where you got the entire crowd to go, "Oh!" That I don't know if I've seen something like that in a hockey game in a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah,
I mean, that was just an absolute embarrassment. And in fact, it's a shame they couldn't have scored. They didn't score on that play because that would be an NHL highlight for the rest of eternity. But man, Patrick Kane, he said, you mentioned it before we came on. He said after the game, it felt like a special night. And you could see he had a little bit of extra in his game in this one. And there were a few Hawks that did that too, and we'll get to them one by one. But I think Patrick Kane really stood out as someone who had seen enough of the 8-game losing streak. And look, I think we can romanticize it and say he really wanted to win one for Foley. I think Patrick Kane just wanted to win an effing game.
Right.
And put it upon himself to do whatever he could to make it happen. He was absolutely terrific as he is every night. The guy is just awesome.
Yeah.
And he's almost playing the best hockey of his career, which is unreal. Plus 3 points with the goal and 2 assists, 4 shots on goal, even credited with 3 block shots.
Wow.
Patrick Kane.
He had 2 earlier this season, and I think that was a career high, so now he's got a new one. Yeah.
Patrick Kane blocking shots, Calvin DeHaan scoring goals, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah, it was all over the place tonight. Yeah, I mean, Kane, ho-hum 3-point night. We were talking about it during the game. He had, quick 2 points in the first period, and it was just like, it's insane to see the kind of season that he's been having and to think it's like all gone to waste. Right. Because he's having, on pace for one of his best seasons of his career. And, you just kind of lose some of that, appreciation for it in a season where the Blackhawks have been out of the run. They've had too many long stretches like they just snapped tonight, too many long stretches of poor hockey, losing hockey, and yet Patrick Kane is still one of the top, players at his position in the entire league. You kind of lose that in a season like this, and tonight was again another reminder that he's still at probably the top of his game, even at 33, 34 years old. And we've talked about it throughout this season. Where is his place with the future of the team? This is a night where you kind of look at it and like, man, he might actually be able to continue this kind of pace into the rebuild.
Yep.
And still be very serviceable once the team is ready to contend again.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. So,
and we answered the question earlier this week. He does not make the Hawks too good to rebuild.
No.
That's a given.
No.
Comment from Emma Root. I hope I said that right. He says, love seeing Kane get into the mix late in the second. It jumped away from me there. Go down a little bit. There you go, right there. Nope. Yeah. Late in the second. Feels like he'll be wearing the C sooner than later. Can't see Toews here next season. To Zona for one of those first-round picks from Tampa. We're going to get into Jonathan Toews a little bit later in the show.
Jonathan Toews is not waiving his no-move clause to go to Arizona whatsoever. No offense to our PHNX crew.
No. I mean, PHNX is great. I just don't know if they're so great that Jonathan Toews is going to just head there simply for that.
He spoke to. We'll get into all his comments in a little bit, but he spoke today and said it's an honor to play at the United Center in front of 20,000 fans. I don't know if he'd be as jacked to play in front of 4,000 fans, but yeah, it's interesting about the hypothetical of, okay, if Jonathan Toews isn't here and Patrick Kane is, does Patrick Kane automatically get the captaincy? And you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, perfect. You slide Kane right into that role, and there you go. I wonder if the Blackhawks, if the future has Patrick Kane on the roster and Jonathan Toews isn't, I wonder if they just say, you know what, we're gonna wait until we know who our next leader is, for the long term, and then name that guy. Maybe it is Kane, who knows? But I've always wondered that if Jonathan Toews wasn't here, would Patrick Kane be the de facto captain? I think a lot of people probably think he would be, but I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah, I would. That is interesting, and I think it would wonder, what would be the commitment Patrick Kane would make. Mm-hmm. Like if Toews goes this summer, I don't know if they would just slap the C on Kane's jersey, but if he was to resign for another 2-3 years, then I think you get a consideration. So it's interesting. That is an interesting conversation to have.
That could be an off season.
Put that in our off season folder.
There you go.
We're gonna need it.
There's one of our July topics.
Yeah, definitely. A couple other good things. I really like Jake McCabe's game tonight. Physical, playing hard, blocking shots, sprawling out to prevent scoring chances. Mm-hmm. Another thing, he had the chance to really injure. It was Bonino. It was Nick Bonino, who was kind of had his head turned or down, crossing center ice, and he passed on the opportunity to put a massive crushing hit on somebody. And I think when those things happen in a game, we should do our best to acknowledge them because it's tough. And we've seen a lot of guys not make that choice and try to hit somebody hard and make that highlight reel hit. And it endangers other hockey players. So when later in the game, the situation occurred along the boards where the San Jose player, spun as McCabe was going to deliver a check, I think it was very clear that McCabe is not the kind of guy who's looking to injure. He's not trying to hurt anybody. But, when those things happen and the way hockey is now, there's always going to be a glove-dropping reaction from the opposition on any sort of hit that's remotely questionable. And McCabe was there to answer the bell. And then later in the game, comes out of the box, tries to head to the bench, gets in another scrap. It was a pretty feisty game for two teams that really aren't playing for anything.
We saw Riley Stillman getting a tussle.
I as a hockey fan, this was an enjoyable game for me to watch. Yeah. I thought it kind of had everything. That highlight reel tic-tac-toe goal that the Hawks scored might be their play of the year.
The best passing sequence that they've had this season that I can remember. There might have been one way earlier in the year, but that was as clean of a passing sequence as you can have, and all the right guys that you wanted to touch the puck on that play did. Patrick Kane, if there was a third assist in hockey, he would have had a 4-point night. But to the point about McCabe, I think I'm definitely someone who tries to bang the drum to be like, can we stop fighting after clean hockey hits?
Yeah, it's enough.
I do acknowledge that in the speed of the game, as hard as it is to say like, oh, what's a clean hit, what's not, without the luxury of having replay, players react instinctively. I get it. But sometimes we see hits where it's just like, oh man, he ran him over shoulder to shoulder, like good hit, and then they're fighting. It's just like, come on, like can we appreciate a good hit? But I think with McCabe being able to kind of look, he's looking out for another player, and this is a Blackhawks team that has seen 3 stretchers this year? Yeah. Two Blackhawks players having been stretchered off, and one opponent having been stretchered off this season. And it's just like, the conversations that the players have had after those incidents, it's just you hear it and you see it in their words and their body language, how devastating it is to see a teammate be, take a hit like that, have to, not be able to come off the ice, not only just with help, but have to be stretchered off. Like it's not a scene anyone wants to see. So for McCabe to kind of recognize in the speed of the game to be like, hey, I'm not going to finish this check because if I do, I could hurt this guy.
Right.
I think that's definitely something that is, like you said, exactly.
It shows character.
Commendable. Yeah,
it shows character.
And McCabe has had a tough season. He came in with a lot of expectations to be a mid-pair shutdown defenseman that could be reliable, and whether it's still coming back from his knee injury that he suffered last season, or just not really feeling comfortable in the lineup, in the system, whatever it is. He definitely came into the year. I remember him speaking about joining the team in the off season and in the summer. He came in, very excited because he lives in Chicago in the off season.
He wanted to be here,
so it was kind of like playing for quote unquote a hometown team. So I think he might have had a lot of pressure internally on himself, and just hasn't really had the season that I think a lot of people and probably he expected to have. So when he is able to have good games, I think that's something that hopefully can snowball towards the end of the season and in the next year for him, where he can be healthy and he's locked in for a few years. So, and
coming off a big injury last year, and we talked about it early in the year with Seth Jones, kind of early on trying to justify the contract, and trying to do everything, trying to do too much. The contract Jake McCabe signed is probably more than he ever thought he would make. So he's trying to justify the same thing. So coming off an injury with expectations, all those sort of things, and the vote of confidence from the Hawks, he's trying to prove himself too. I just think overall he's been pretty solid. Greg is going to join us here from the United Center in a second, but want to remind everybody that the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you're going to receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, including my love letter to Pat Foley that you guys ate up today. I really appreciate that. And you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. But that's not it. You're also going to get their new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay. The playoffs are about to begin, and for the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. Want more? You can also boost your live Same Game Parlays. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. You can download the PointsBet app right now because online sign-up is available in Illinois. Do it from your underwear. Do it from your shower. Do it from your bed. Do it naked. Whatever you're into, do it. You can register from start to finish because online sign-up is available in Illinois. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Greg will be with us momentarily. A little bit of a thing I've noticed since the game has ended that I did not notice while we were watching. Kirby Dach did not play very much in the third period. He had not.
He didn't reach double-digit minutes, surprisingly.
Yeah, our guy Wally Maz, who runs the great Twitter account Blackhawks Prospects, he says, I don't know if Dach got hurt or was benched, but he only got a team low 846 and was benched roughly around the 1735 mark in the third. So we'll see. We'll see what happened with Kirby Dach. It's going to be interesting to find out. Are we ready for Greg? Is Greg with us? All right, let's bring in Greg Boysen, live from the United Center with the beautiful United Center ice behind him. Greg, how's it going? What do we hear from Derek King after tonight's win?
Greg, you are muted on your side.
Oop. We got some. Got to unmute Greg.
Still nothing on our end here, so here we'll figure that out in a moment.
Yeah, so I would hope that someone might have noticed that and ask Derek King about the playing time with a player like Kirby Dach, because this is a player and a time of the year where Dach, you want to see. Oop, we got Greg.
There we go. Sounds like we got you, Greg.
Can hear him.
All right, there we are. Technology just it hates me when I'm here.
TikTok loves you. Technology hates you.
Yeah, TikTok legend, but doesn't work with the technology.
I would trade in the TikTok love for this crap to actually work every time I call it. But,
You're getting love in the comment sections already. Poor Greg.
That's right. Poor me. No, it's nice. We finally got a win with a CHGO credentialed member in the building. First one in history.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
We are cursed. The CHGO curse has been broken.
They won't lock the doors on us now.
Right. But, no, Derek King was very pleased with the effort he got tonight out of his team. It's hard to disagree with him. The effort was there tonight. Execution, that came and went as the game, progressed, but that's part of what it is with this Blackhawks team right now. But the effort was there, and that's something that we've talked a lot about in the last few weeks that's been missing. So we saw pretty much a 60-minute game. Obviously, the result was happy. It was a great night in the building. Jay and I sat next to each other during the Pat Foley pregame ceremony, and I had goosebumps. I had fight back tears during a lot of that. And then hearing
what do you think I left?
Calls, yeah. I don't know who, but there was somebody up in this press box that was chopping onions behind me all night long. I find that person. But very special night and very cool. Both Seth Jones and Patrick Kane talked after the game, and they said it was really good to get that win for Pat on his last night, and especially Patrick Kane. He's been here, his whole career. Every big goal, at least in the regular season, that he's ever scored has been called by Pat Foley. So a big night, and I think Kane actually gave Foley a little salute from the ice during the game after his goal. So it was really cool at the end of the night when the whole team saluted him and the whole stadium gave him a big cheers. So overall, great night. A win. The losing streak is finally over, and you could tell just going downstairs that these guys feel relieved and they feel a lot of pressure off of them. And it'll be interesting to see where that takes them these last few games.
Well, especially with so many, leads and then blown leads and blown leads as we've seen all year, and especially recently, for them to ultimately win the game. We saw Boris Kachuk rip the monkey off his back a couple games ago. I think team-wide, you saw a ton of relief from the team to walk away with 2 points in this one, and it took every last second to get that second point. But look, before you jumped on, Greg, we talked about it. They battled this entire game, top to bottom, and it almost felt like it was one of those games where Patrick Kane took the team by the scruff and said, we are not losing this game. From start to finish, he was fantastic. But I do want to ask you, I don't know if it came up in postgame or not, we did not see Kirby Dach for the vast majority of the third period. Is he hurt? Was he benched? Is there any update on that at all from Derek King?
Nobody asked that. I think it was a lot of, the Foley and
the
Harlem Globetrotter play got a lot of attention. He was on the bench the entire game, so I don't think it was an injury. I know that there was a couple of turnovers and just some of the same we've seen from Kirby Dach. He's played better of late, but tonight, I guess Derek King didn't see enough from him and said, hey, take a seat and watch for a little while. And kudos for making that move. Some may argue that's long overdue. So, you've got a rotation of guys. Maybe Kirby's watching a game coming up here.
Yeah.
Maybe you send a lesson and Kirby doesn't make the trip to Nashville this weekend. Sorry, you just turned 21. You can't go to Nashville.
That's a massive punishment.
Yeah.
You stunk it up against the Sharks, so you can't go to Nashville. That's your punishment. That's a great way to send a lesson.
They're going to have to call Brian Sutter to meet him at Tootsie's and hold him up against the bar like he did to Tyler Arneson. That's an old guy reference, but I'm sure there's three people that remember that.
I was just going to say, here, Kirby, wear this Tyler Arneson jersey for 5 minutes. Trust us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we heard from Derek King after Tuesday's game how fatigued mentally and physically the team has been, and how the losing streak had been weighing on them. You mentioned it, Greg, about kind of you could see the relief. Was it anything talked about from either Seth Jones or Patrick Kane or Derek King about how the being able to kind of loosen up a little bit now after a win could maybe snowball into at least having some good feelings to close the season on?
Yeah, Seth Jones, he mentioned that, it's been frustrating to say the least the last couple of weeks. And he says it's been very easy to fall in the trap of finger pointing and blaming teammates. But the bottom line is they're all in this together. They're just as responsible for the losses as they are for the wins. And now that they got a win, they can, as much as they were frustrated as a team for all the losses, they can now enjoy this win as a team. So definitely a sense of relief. This was the second time this week Patrick Kane's been down for post game, and this was a much better. We talked to him after the Dallas game, so tonight was definitely a much more easygoing Patrick Kane tonight for sure. So you could definitely feel, especially for those two guys, two of the veteran leaders on this team, they're going to sleep probably the best they've slept in a couple of weeks tonight.
It's good to see Phil Thompson didn't just lob a hand grenade into the press conference like he's done a couple times this year, which is what I love about Phil. Love Phil's that dude. Great. But it's interesting.
We're gonna get him on the show for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to what you said about Seth Jones and pointing fingers at teammates. That's sort of, I don't know, that waved a little of a red flag for me. I wonder if there is a little bit of, I don't want to say infighting, but I wonder, I'd like people to follow up on that a little bit, because is that something that was happening?
He didn't flat out say that was going on. He said it's easy in these situations. It's easy to start pointing fingers or blaming. He didn't specifically say that's what was happening, but he definitely alluded to maybe a little bit of that, or maybe he was just, feeding into what everybody's been saying that, people, this team is falling apart or whatnot. But, I think winning cures all that ails you. So hopefully this will, speaking of ails, I see you guys are enjoying a few on Pat Foley night. That's always good. It'll be interesting to see how this affects them this weekend in Nashville. Nashville's a desperate team trying to hold on to a playoff spot. They've had problems with the Predators the last forever, it seems.
Last few years.
Let's see if they can keep this momentum going on an early start. I joke that they should have a pregame ceremony before every game, because the last two times they've had them, they've scored in the first minute. Dylan Strome had that goal early in the Coyotes game after the Toews celebration, and tonight that they score on the first shift. So maybe just send somebody out there on a podium before every game and get that first goal.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how on time they start the game with an 11:30 a.m. start on Saturday.
Yeah,
That's going to be
like morning skate. It's just like a morning skate. They're used to being out there that early.
Going to be some brunch hockey.
I would like to see if Kevin Lankinen starts again on Saturday and see how he goes. Derek King praised the way he played. Said that he gave a good effort. He did make some big saves.
Many,
but
because of his rebounds.
Yes, I wonder if they've actually explained to him that it is allowed within the rule book of the NHL that you can absorb a shot. You don't have to give it right back to the team for another. But good for him to get the win. I'm wondering if maybe that hand is not 100%, and he's afraid to use the glove hand, and maybe that's a reason for all these rebounds. When was the last time you saw him catch a puck and hold it in his hand? I don't remember. Yeah. And he's exaggerating that blocker half the time, using the blocker more often than I remember. Maybe it's just the teams keep shooting it that way, but I'm wondering if that hand is not 100%, and that's causing some of the shakiness right now.
That's a good point.
Because on one of the goals that he gave up, it was kind of a clean shot, a clean sight line on a shot that went to the glove side, and he missed it, and it ends up hitting the glass behind him, popping in front, and the Sharks bang home a rebound. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the glove hand might not be 100%, or he might not have confidence in it, being still injured or still trying to get that feel back. So. It's a good point, Greg. That could be something that is continuing to hinder him.
And before we get to our 4 stars, I just want to give a quick shout out and a congratulatory shout out to our super fan, the Rev. I see her in the chat room. She won big time on her PointsBet app by betting that Calvin DeHaan was going to score a goal tonight.
Wow.
Way to go.
That's a big bet to make.
Congrats on your retirement.
She credits me because she made the bet as soon as I tweeted out this morning that DeHaan was back in the lineup. So, Rev, you can send my cut of the winnings to the CHGO studios. I will gladly accept it on your behalf. But congratulations. That's a heck of those are some pretty good odds, I bet.
Yeah.
$80. Look at that. $80 she won by betting on
she bet a penny?
Way to go.
Yeah. I don't think PointsBet lets you put down that little of amount, but wow, 80. That's
nicely done.
That's great. That's a great play.
I'm gonna hand over the rest of the money in my account to the Rev to place my bets for me.
I would give her mine, but there is none.
Yeah.
Hey, our big play of the week is coming up later in the show today, though, so we'll get one of these right sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe just bet against us.
I think, yeah. And what's that might be the way to go. We were talking with the Cubs crew here as their post game is going on right now as well in Studio A. We were watching the game together and talking with Cody, who also does the bet show, and it's just interesting listening to someone like him who is very deep into and knowledgeable about betting. And I'm just kind of standing there listening to him. I'm looking at him. I'm hearing what he's saying, and it's just right over my head. I'm just like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's.
I parlayed the Cubs and the Blackhawks on the money line tonight, so I was a big winner tonight.
There you go.
Not $80, but not bad. So
yeah, take the betting advice from Greg.
Is there
I'm
such a thing as being
$3
knowledgeable
closer to
about betting?
retirement.
Yeah. So, well, that's good. Greg's a winner. Rev's a winner. Should we get to our
We
fourth?
all a winner tonight on Pat Foley night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're all big
Hawks
winners.
win. Everyone's goes home happy. Let's get to the fourth stars of the night here, because Greg, you're in an interesting position with your choice.
I'm sticking with it. I don't care. I'm breaking the rules. And
Yeah, I think we'll
do it.
allow a rule break once in a while.
All right, I'm going to take Jake McCabe. I thought he played really solid, physical, chose not to jeopardize a guy's life. Way to go, Jake McCabe. Way to not try to murder an opponent.
You just didn't want our producers to change the graphic from last game. You're being nice.
You're right.
It is my first time on this show, so he is being nice to me.
There you go.
That's your free pass. I'm going to break the rules. I know the rules of the 4 stars. We can't pick a guy that was one of the 3 stars, but I don't care. My 4-star, my number 1 star forever is Pat Foley tonight. We have to give a shout out to the legendary broadcaster, play-by-play, the guy that has been the Blackhawks voice literally my entire life.
Yep.
Ever since I became a Hawks fan at a young age, listening to games on the radio with my dad because you couldn't get home games on TV. There was Pat Foley. Every big moment that I've ever had as a fan of this team, Pat Foley was there to tell me all about it and shout and get me excited. And he's a legend. I'm going to miss the hell out of him, and can't wait to hope that he does some guest spots here and there. And whatever he does from here on out, I wish nothing but the best. And so Pat Foley is my 4-star, my 1st star, my 2nd. He's all the stars.
I have news for you, Greg. The prudes at NHL.com, those fuddy-duddies.
They didn't even put him in the report. What a
They
bunch of
left it
jerks.
blank. They left the 1st star blank. They did not put Pat Foley on there. I refreshed it and everything.
Disrespectful.
No, I am going to send Gary Bettman a strongly worded email when I get off of here about that.
Yeah, you should. You absolutely should. So I think technically, by a technicality, you're
I'm
still
not
correct.
wrong. I didn't break the rules.
Not
there
wrong.
was no first. Yeah.
There you go.
Per the game report, I am still within the rule book of the Chicago 4-star.
There you go. I went with Calvin Dach, scoring his 4th goal of the season. That is now the 2nd highest total that he has had in a season in his career. 1 goal behind his 2016-2017 career high of 5. We'll see if he can match or even break that. Maybe win the Revs some more money. But I'm easily going to concede Calvin Dach to Pat Foley.
We'll send Pat Foley a shirt.
And we'll see if we can get him a commemorative glass that is actually a glass, not made of plastic.
Why don't we send him the little stained glass Hawks bottle we got over
have
there?
to ask Lawrence about that one.
All right.
We'll trade him a CHGO Blackhawks shirt for one of those Pat Foley shirts everybody was wearing tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, I almost bought one at the on the way out. I stopped in the Madhouse store, and it just did not seem like the right fabric for a fat guy.
What is it?
It's like kind of a thinner,
Like the tri-blend?
kind of like a tri-blend. I'm like, am I going to drop $35 on a shirt that I might never wear? It's going to show off my man boobs. I don't think I want to do that. So we'll leave it for the skinnies out there to go pick one of those up. I left some on the shelves for y'all. So, but just a great night. I'm glad I got to be there for just the first period, but I got to see the whole celebration. Got to see the luminaries in the building, which was great. And Greg, we're gonna let you go home. Thanks, man, and we'll see you bright and early on Saturday.
Cannot wait. Be good, boys. Talk to you later.
All right, Greg. Take care, man. That is Greg Boysen from the United Center at the end of Pat Foley night. What a night. It was a great night, man.
It was awesome.
You said it to start the show. Can you imagine if they had lost? I wonder if they had lost, if the Hawks still would have done the cheers from center ice.
Probably, but it would have been such a bummer.
Oh,
because then you're toasting a losing crowd.
It's just
a
awkward.
Team that just lost 9 in a row. It would have been.
Just thinking about it is giving me the cringes. I'm just like, ooh, I don't like that at all.
Very, very happy that that they were able to come away with a win for sure.
Yeah,
it would have been such an awkward ending.
I mentioned a thing I wrote for allchgo.com, and if you're not a member, you should be. Sign up for that. You get access to all the great writing from everybody here at CHGO. You get membership access, a free t-shirt, all the great stuff that comes with the CHGO membership. But the thing I wrote today was free. So if you have not become a member yet, you can go check it out anyway. The feedback I got from that was unreal. And I almost felt like when I wrote it that I hadn't done it enough justice, because it's hard for me, and as Greg and you said too, Pat Foley's always been there for Hawks fans. He has been the constant that we've had throughout our fandom. And I almost sort of appreciate now the fact that this year they phased him out and got us used to games without him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it also gave them the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to listen to some other voices, see who we like best, instead of being like, this is a new guy. Here he is. It's game one. Get used to it. I think in hindsight, they looked back on it. Would I like Pat to have done more games? Yes. But I think the fact that they sort of eased him out of our lives is going to be a lot less jarring than it would have been had he done all 82 this year and then no more Pat Foley. Yeah. That would have been a really tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and it would have been probably even harder job for the person who would have replaced him.
Yeah, definitely.
Knowing that it's now going to be Chris Foster's. If you go into the offseason and over the summer and say, hey, by the way, Chris Foster's is a new play-by-play, and no one had heard him do a game, and it would have been so hard to be like, who is this guy? It would have been much harder than having rolled him out a little bit throughout this season. So yeah, I think in hindsight is a good thing that they did the kind of the phasing out of Foley and the tryout system with the play-by-play hosts. I still think it would have been nice to have Pat do the last home game.
Yeah,
I think that would have been a nice way to send it off. But yeah, it'll be difficult to it'll be a transition. It'll be a transition to get used to a new voice, and it'll be, as far as we understand, Eddie Olczyk will be back again. I'm not sure if maybe I missed it, but I'm not sure I've heard anything new that his contract with NBC is expiring still. But I expect him to be back. I haven't heard otherwise. So at least there'll be that to
Pat said something tonight about his production crew having to now they got to carry Eddie. Mm-hmm. So, and who knows, that could have been just a throwaway line he was trying to make on the spot, but it doesn't feel like he's going anywhere. And if he did, he better get a damn ceremony too, because Foley went out of his way all night to talk about how Eddie has made him a better broadcaster and taught him the game. And the little thing that Eddie pointed out with Reese Johnson at the face-off, like that's stuff that even a trained guy like Pat Foley missed.
Right.
So I think Hawks fans are spoiled for a lot of reasons. Broadcast-wise, the quick development of Toews and Kane, the very quick transition to championships. Like, right now, Hawks fans are entering like the realm of the normal. And I think Chris Foster's is going to do a great job. I had the chance to meet him tonight. Super nice guy, super humble, excited for the opportunity, and he's going to do a wonderful job. So while he's never going to be Pat Foley, and while Pat Foley was not Lloyd Pettit, right? He's a different guy. I hope people give Chris, the chance he deserves, because he's going to work his ass off. He's going to do a good job, and he should not try to replace Pat Foley, because he can't. He's got to be the best Chris Foster he can be. And from everything I've seen from him and heard from people who spend more time with him than I do, obviously, they're excited about his future too. So let's do our best to welcome him. We expect to have him come join us for a show.
We're working on it
before the season ends. So we're looking forward to that. And look, when he does, we're going to let you get to know him. We're going to find out what makes him tick. Want to get to know him personally, because I think not only are we losing a great broadcaster in Pat Foley, but we're losing someone who we feel like we know personally. And it's funny, to give you a indication of my like social awkwardness, as I write this glowing letter to Pat Foley today, and I get up in the press box and there's Pat Foley, I could not get farther away. I was like, I don't want to see him. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to introduce myself. I don't want him to have read. I was just so terrified that someone was going to be like, oh, hey, this is Jay. He wrote the thing. I was like, no, I don't want I don't want to talk to him. I just,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like for me, I just keep him at an arm's length. You know, it's just, I don't know. I was so nervous about that potential interaction tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was just, I don't know how I would have handled
The
it.
saying always goes, you know, oh, you don't want to meet your heroes. But I think Pat Foley is one of those people that when you meet him, it's like it's genuine and it's like you're not going to be disappointed.
I've met him.
I
I hung out with him at a drunken night in South Bend.
Yeah.
And that was memorable.
That,
I don't know if not because he was drinking, but I'm just one of the millions of people that he's met over his life.
Right.
I don't know if he has any recollection of that. And maybe that was part of it too. Like I didn't want to know that he forgot about that, you know. But it was just, I'm such an awkward dude in the first place. If you've ever met me in public, I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't know how to respond to people talking to me. And I'm like, there he is. And Greg's like, where did Jay go? I'm like hiding under a coat.
Get out.
No, I mean, it would have been cool to work up the nerves to introduce myself, but tonight was not the night. I mean, he's
meeting so many people, old and new, and it's just a whirlwind. So you don't, sometimes you're kind of just like, I don't want to add to it, you know. But
he's looking for work, so maybe he could become, you know, the fourth wheel on the show.
Hey, if he wants to come in, we keep the fridge stocked, and he can have his unfiltered Blackhawks voice heard, and that would be great.
I also love that the Hawks gave him an all expenses paid trip to the golf major of his choice.
Yeah.
That is such a fitting
awesome
gift for Pat Foley. I think, you know, we sort of speculated the other day, like, what did we want to see? Who did we want to see there? I could tell that this night was how Pat Foley wanted it. Mm-hmm. He wanted it to be his relationship with his parents is remarkable. The love he has for his mom and dad, and to give his mom the Hall of Fame jacket and to see her reaction to that and to have his nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters out there, that's what he wanted to do. And you could tell, they could have, and this is what I wanted, selfishly. I wanted to see Eddie Belfour. I wanted to see Murray Bannerman. I wanted to see all the people that he made famous with the calls. But I think one thing that kind of became clear tonight, and it's something that didn't really click with me until tonight, the players themselves probably have the least bit of relationship with him, because they're not watching games.
Right.
They're playing in the games, so they don't hear him 82 times plus playoffs every year. Jonathan Toews said this morning when he met the media, like, last year I finally got the chance to really kind of listen to him. Mm-hmm. He said now and again I would go back and watch a game again, but last season where Toews skipped the year was the first time he really got to sit and enjoy a Pat Foley broadcast. So they handled it correctly, you know? And to have the little video greetings for him before commercial breaks and coming out of commercial breaks and all that stuff, I think they knocked it out of the park with the presentation. I think they did a fantastic job.
And we saw and heard from some people that you hadn't for a while, and some that you may not have expected to hear. I mean, we saw a sighting for Doc Emmerich, which was great. And it was just, we haven't, since he's stepped away from his role with NBC and the national broadcast crew. It was great to see Doc, and we saw Steve Larmer do a video, and and you mentioned Pat Foley's mom, Mary, did a video, and it was just it's one of those moments you're just like wow, like it's just you just kind of get swept up in it, and it was a great night, and you saw current players. Patrick Kane had a message for him as well. And Hossa and Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith, all these guys from the recent dynasty teams, and it was just awesome to see the love that Foley elicited from the team, and players, they don't get to hear him in his element as much as we do as fans, and I think it just kind of speaks to the different kind of relationship that they can have with someone who they're not really connecting necessarily with him professionally for what he does as a broadcaster. They're connecting with him for his role with the team and who he is as a person.
Right.
And I think it really, the relationship that he's built with, players over the years, from that aspect, I think is just another testament to the kind of person that he is. Yeah.
And just a guy who the people that know him love him. and it's not phony. You see the way Eddie O talks about him. You see the way Dale Talon talks about him. They show Dale in one of the skyboxes during a toast, and Dale was choked up. You know, that's a guy that sticks with you. He is a personality. He is a larger than life personality. He's got a presence about him. He's got a, I don't know what you want to say. It's he just has a confidence about him. He knows he's a cool guy with a cool job and a cool personality. You know, it's just he when he's around, there's a different feel. Because when we were at the game, which game was that? Was it I don't know, a couple games ago, he was not there. And then tonight and of course tonight was a special night too, but you just hear that voice throughout the hallways, and it just creates a different atmosphere. Yeah. And it's an atmosphere people want to be around, except me, because I was scared.
Well, and you know, it's interesting, you know, this having since joined CHGO, these are the first opportunities that myself, you, and Greg have really had to be in the Blackhawks media realm, and I'll never forget my first game was the Buffalo collapse, but my first experience was walking into the press box and turning the corner, and the first person I crossed paths with is Pat Foley, and I was just like, oh shoot, it's Pat Foley, like right in front of me. Yeah. And so it was just, you know, you just kind of, and I'm walking in and I'm like, all right, like, let me be confident and make eye contact and like say hello to people. And the first person I see is Pat Foley, and I'm like, oh, hi. And he's like, hello. And just kind of like walks by. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, said hi to Pat Foley. Check that off my bucket list. But yeah, he's just kind of got that personality and that aura around him. And, you know, I as great as tonight was, I would hope that the Blackhawks do some sort of kind of in the United Center commemoration of Foley, whether it's, you know, a plaque by the broadcast booth or something that can kind of cement his legacy with the team somewhere that's a little bit more permanent. I think that'd be great to see.
The Red Kerr statues in the concourse. Scottie Pippen has one in the concourse. I think that would be fitting for Foley. I think was it Greg or you that brought up just naming the press box after him?
Yeah, or the box, yeah.
There's many options. I'm sure they will all be visited, but there should definitely be some sort of permanent homage to Pat Foley in the United Center, without a doubt. I've told this story before, but in case you hadn't heard it and you read the piece I wrote, first time I met Pat Foley was the summer of 2000. I'm working at the 670 The Score golf outing as an intern. So I was very wet behind the ears, young. I was still in college and, you know, the biggest Hawks fan in the world. And there were two people I wanted to see at that golf outing. Brian Urlacher, who had just been drafted by the Bears.
Rookie Brian Urlacher.
We had not seen him play a game yet. I saw him hit a tee shot, though. I'm like, Hall of Fame. And the other was Pat Foley, and I knew he was there, but I was just I was working one of the holes, giving out tchotchkes or whatever it was. And I hear coming around the cart path the unmistakable voice of Pat Foley. Couldn't really make out what he was saying, but I could just hear the voice. Yeah. And I turned as red as our logo. And he turns the corner and he kind of looks me up and down. He's like, "You're burning up, big fella." I was getting sunburned. I forgot sunscreen, so I had a Notre Dame hat on backwards. It was like to here, right? Like halfway through my forehead.
Oh, no.
And he's like, "You're burning up." So he had this blue bottle of sunscreen with like maybe 1 or 2 squirts left in it and just hands it to me. It's like, "Put that on yourself." You know? So I did, of course. Pat Foley, like, "Yeah, yes, sir, whatever you say." Yeah. And he's like, "You can keep it." And then I still have it. I still have that bottle. Wow. It's packed away somewhere with my memorabilia. But if I ever find the Pat Foley sunscreen bottle, I will bring it in for show and tell. I mean, how could I not keep that?
Incredible.
You know, yeah. I'm 22 years old. Just like, there he is. Like, this is the guy. Why I'm here, being an intern at the station. I'd love to be him or work with him someday. And the first thing he notices is that I'm getting sunburned. He gives me a sunscreen. Like, what a ridiculous story. Just looking back on that, it's the absurdity of that You're burning up, big fella. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget him saying that to me. And I was nervous as hell to meet Pat Foley. Just to not even meet him, just to be in his presence was scary for me. And then for him to acknowledge me, call me out for my stupidity in the friendliest way possible, mind you, but pointing out like, hey, fatso, you forgot your sunscreen, because I was much bigger in college, believe it or not. Man, it was just something I'll never forget. And when I think of like all the moments I've had in sports media, that still is one of my top 5. It's unreal. So, man, what a memory and what a night. I'm so, just so glad they won. Yeah. I'm so glad they won this game.
Yes.
Definitely. It would have been so freaking awkward if they had not.
Mm-hmm. And it would have made this show a lot harder.
To do. In general, this show is so much looser. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be upset about anything until we get to the tape stuff. Yeah. And
which we'll get to.
And we got a comment there, and I can't see who made it, but he says the fans did not boo when the Wirtz' names were mentioned. It's from Bill R. I think that's the first time I've heard the name Bill Wirtz uttered at the United Center when the fans did not boo at all. Pat Foley said Bill Wirtz. And I don't think Rocky is in boo territory yet. I think the people that really notice his missteps are people that are really close to it, like us. I think the casual fan still has good feeling. And overall, I still have positive feelings towards Rocky. I mean, it was one bad moment. It was a really bad moment.
It was a
horrible moment.
Poorly timing to have a terrible.
It was a terrible moment. Yes. But 12 years. I don't know if it gets undone by one moment. That's a topic for August. But there were no Wirtz boos tonight, which I thought was interesting.
That's a good thing to see, and I think, you can always
there's a time and a place.
You can always take a moment to boo the Wirtzes for some reason. You can find one. But I think I think on a night where the focus is to celebrate Pat Foley, I think it's good to see that people took the moment to just be like, we're just going to be in a celebratory mood. We're not going to try and hash out how we feel about anybody else or anything else.
All right, why don't we give our play of the week, and then we'll get to the slight unpleasantness from earlier today.
The PointsBet play of the week. I had to go outside of the box with this one. Okay. As you can maybe imagine, my betting knowledge is not as in depth as some of the other people here that work with CHGO. So I bet mostly hockey, but tomorrow we got some exciting NBA games going on. It's the play-in round continues in the NBA playoffs, and I'm looking at the Atlanta Hawks Cleveland Cavaliers matchup, and I'm coming into this with some very little knowledge. But as much knowledge as I had picking Kansas to win the national championship, that made me look pretty good.
All right.
So on that, I am going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. They are plus 115 on the money line. So I'm going to go chase, as Cody said earlier tonight, the term that I learned, chase the plus money. Right. I am going to chase the plus money with the Cleveland Cavaliers at home tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks. So that will be the play of the week.
I agree.
For myself.
When Craig Elo and Dominique Wilkins square off, you've got no idea. The house is going to come down.
Is Eric Snow still on the Cavaliers?
Was he ever? I don't know. I could probably name one historic player from every NBA franchise, and they were probably an NBA Jam, or there was some memorable Bulls moment.
Yeah,
Craig Elo, from the dynasty that makes me remember.
Definitely. Anderson Varejao?
I know the name. Couldn't tell you one team.
He did? Okay. Yep. Right. Was that was hair. Like the early LeBron Cavs?
Yes.
Spud Webb?
Big old hair.
Big curly hair. Yep. There you go.
I know Spud Webb. I do know a current Atlanta Hawk, though. Trae Young.
Yes.
Is that correct?
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Led the league in scoring and assists this year. Big old Trae Young.
That's a good one to know.
That's correct.
Good one to know.
I agree. I don't know. All right,
let's pull it back to our wheelhouse.
Let's get to it. Let's get to
dragging on Jonathan Toews.
So Jonathan Toews took some heat today, and I'm going to hold my comments until we play the comments in their entirety. This is from post morning skate this morning. Here's Jonathan Toews talking about the rebuild and all the things around it.
There's some learning for me to just be in the moment and not be so results oriented all the time. And but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen this summer. I don't know what moving parts. I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll just take it day by day and not overthink it and take one challenge at a time as they come.
Last one for Jonathan.
Do you want to sit down with Kyle to just really kind of hash out how you feel, what he's thinking, really get to the details?
Yeah. I like to sit down more often with Kyle and our coaching staff, and I just think that sometimes it helps me to hear their honesty, and I just think it helps to have that line of communication, to know what they expect out of me, and I know what they need, and I know what my job is as a player and as a captain in the locker room, because I think part of the frustrating thing these last couple of games is obviously there's, we're moving the lines around this and that, but I mean, that's just an example. So yeah, it would be good to know exactly what's going on in some detail to a certain extent, and then I can control what I can control and just go about my job.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's loaded.
earlier in the day, when I saw the quote about I want to meet with Kyle Davidson more and understand what he wants from me as a captain, I was once again very perturbed with Jonathan Toews. But then on the way in, I listened to the entirety of the interview. And I think what he's trying to say, and what Derek King told us on Wednesday is influencing this thought a little bit, because Derek King went out of his way to say how great Jonathan has been. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to say that. He was taking shots at other people directly or indirectly, right? He's been saying he hasn't been slow to criticize Blackhawks players by name. So that's influencing this a little bit, to be honest. I think what Jonathan is saying is clearly me being pissed that we're losing is not the way to lead right now. And he started his comments by saying, clearly I have a lot to learn and a lot to adjust to. So I think what Toews is saying is, how do I become a leader of a team in this position? I'm used to leading teams that win Stanley Cups, teams that compete in the playoffs. I don't know how to be a leader in a situation like this. And that's something Derek King talked to us about yesterday too, saying, look, I was a veteran when teams went young, and it's hard. As a veteran player who's used to winning and competing, seeing a rebuild is a really hard pill to swallow sometimes. So in this particular instance, I'm going to give Toews the benefit of the doubt. I think that's what he was saying. I will say, though, the King today, you described Jonathan as grumpy.
Yes.
He said he's a little grumpy today. So I don't know. I think after, things look different in print than they do when you actually hear them. And especially with the context of the first question, I think what he's saying was, I need to readjust my leadership, because me smashing my stick after every loss is probably not the best thing when we're probably going to be losing most of the games we play. And I think that's correct. Mm-hmm. If he really needs advice on how to be a captain, if that's what he meant, then that's BS. And by now he should know that. But I really think he was saying, I need to adjust the way I lead, and I need some guidance on how to do that.
Yeah,
which is fair.
And Derek King said in his post-morning skate availability that he talks with players pretty much every day, gives them the opportunity to talk with him, and he checks in with he said with the big guys every day, with Toews and with Seth Jones and DeBrincat and Kane and these guys that are veterans and leaders of the team. So the thought of, Jonathan Toews doesn't have communication with Derek King, that's not true. I can't imagine Derek King, who as we saw on Wednesday and have noticed in his time both in Rockford and then with Chicago, him being honest is not an issue. He's going to be able to communicate to his players exactly what he's expecting out of them. For Kyle Davidson, I also can't imagine that Jonathan Toews can't go into his office and be like, hey, I kind of want to talk to you, and Kyle Davidson shoos him away. Like,
of course.
I don't think that that's the dynamic either. So I think to your point, you're correct that Toews is likely trying to, as late in the game as it might be, trying to refocus his mentality of being the captain of the Blackhawks, which for most of his career has meant I'm the captain of a very good team, of a very talented team, and I'm the captain while also playing alongside players like Brent Seabrook and Patrick Sharp and Marian Hossa and Duncan Keith and Patrick Kane, like all these other guys who were leaders on the same level as Jonathan Toews, but just didn't have the C on his sweater. So now the role of Toews as captain is he's no longer one of the main voices. It's like he's the voice, and his role as a leader and his role as a player is changing, because as much as he wants to still be the Jonathan Toews of old, I don't think his body is going to allow him to do that anymore. And we all had a lot of hopes that he'd be able to come back, be healthy, and be the Toews of old this season. We've seen some snippets of it, but it's not consistent. And although he has been better the second half of the season, it has not been, old Toews-esque. So I think he's coming around to the idea that I am no longer the 20-minute a night top power play, top penalty kill, top line center. And with the shifting of lines that have happened in the last few games, I think he's kind of, I would imagine he's kind of wrapping his head around the fact that he's no longer seen as this player in the lineup. And as a leader, he doesn't have as many co-leaders to lean on.
True.
And they're not winning as much. So it's a lot to take in at one time, even if he's now just taking the blinders off of what a rebuild is. I tried to not jump down the throat of Toews yet again this season for what he said earlier today, and having heard it all in context, I think, to your point, I think that is kind of the way that he's kind of processing how this season has gone, what the future looks like,
right,
and where he fits into.
Well, and now it's flat out told rebuild, because even Stan was like, well, we can rebuild on the fly and we can supplement our roster with young guys and free agents. This is Kyle Davidson saying, no, this is a rebuild. And even if it didn't click with Toews when he saw Brandon Hagel traded,
it should have clicked.
It clicked.
Then, yeah.
Nate brought up a point earlier in the chat, and he just basically said what Toews needs to do is just lead by example. And that's it. That is how you lead a young team. Go out there, work your ass off, play as hard as you can, forecheck, back check, penalty kill, win faceoffs, block shots. That's how you lead a rebuilding team. You say, this is how one of the most decorated players in the NHL finishes off their career and handles a rebuild, and that's how you lead. That if I'm Kyle Davidson, he comes to me, that's what I say. Lead by example, play hard, show what it means to be a professional, because that's what these kids need. All right, we're running late. Extra. We went to overtime, just like Pat Foley did in this one tonight. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember, we'll be back Saturday for the brunch special, 11:30.
Might get some mimosas in here.
Hell yeah, we're going to get some mimosas in here. As always, we're presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. For Mario Tirabassi and our partner Greg Boysen, who's on his way home, I'm Jay Zawaski. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. We'll talk to you Saturday.